Hey everyone, Colby Kennedy, Product Marketing Manager from Reputation, back with you. If you were with us on the live presentation, we had a few technical difficulties. We weren't able to get our wonderful guest speaker from BrightSpring Health in to talk about the actual examples, intricacies of putting the concepts that we spoke about into action, but we did get her here. So thank you for checking out this recording. Just as a reminder, we're joined today by Leigh White. She's the VP of Communications and PR at BrightSpring Health. And Mr. Michael Erisman. He is the Chief Human Resources Officer at Reputation and a little bit of an EX guru. So we have a great conversation for you today. And to get you clued in on that, I want to share with you some of the questions that we are going to be going over today.
Welcome, Leigh. Good to see you.
Cool. All righty, guys. So our first question here is, why did you embark on trying to get more insights from EX? And what was the catalyst or inciting incident? Now, Leigh, we'll let you go ahead and start off. And Michael, please, by all means, chime in when you'd like to.
Well, when we first began our journey with Reputation, which really started at the end of 2021, not so long ago, we quickly saw that the overwhelming majority of our unsolicited feedback was coming from current and former employees. And as Michael mentioned earlier in his remarks, we knew that if we wanted to have happy customers, we had to have happy employees. So we needed to listen to those employees first and foremost. And what we found was that there is no way without the Reputation platform that we could have efficiently listened to, at the very least, the feedback that we were getting online, much less try to aggregate it and draw conclusions from it so that we could improve the employee experience. So we quickly jumped right into the employee experience almost from the outset of our engagement with Reputation. We said, you know what, we want to hear from the customers, and we are hearing from them, but we need to listen to the employees first. So I think the catalyst really, or what's incited us to go forward was really seeing the impact of those online reviews, specifically on Indeed and Glassdoor, on our job postings. We use an applicant tracking system that then automatically feeds all of our job postings onto Indeed. So we are huge partners with Indeed. And Indeed automatically puts the star rating on every single job posting that we have. So we know that potential candidates and applicants are looking at that feedback and paying attention to it. So we knew it was really important, as with everybody in the healthcare industry and perhaps every industry in the United States. Looking for employees and attracting those employees who stay engaged and with us for a long time is, the #1 priority. So the tool really brought us, untold insight into what people were thinking and talking about us.
Yeah, Leigh, and just a quick follow-up question. So you were aware of all of the data that was already in Glassdoor and Indeed anyway, but you were having to look at it and manually separate it and try to sync it together. So when you first populated and started to see the whole big picture, what was a couple of the immediate takeaways? Was it more around the insights you were giving, or more around the ease and simplicity of getting the data?
I think it was the ease and simplicity. Yes, we knew it was there. And we knew that responding to it was also super important, but we didn't have the way to do that really efficiently. And with a small team, we were looking for a way that we could really quickly get back to people. And we did that through the managed review response team. We are engaged with Reputation on that front too, and that has just helped our tiny team immensely.
Yeah, that's great. What was the reaction from your leaders the first time you kind of showed them this full picture?
Wow, I think they thought it wasn't really something, especially Glassdoor. They're like, oh, that's just where people go to complain. It really doesn't make a difference. Maybe we're going to ignore that, or it's not as much. It doesn't make as much of an impact as some of our senior leaders thought that it really did, but especially seeing, you know, those star ratings on Indeed and the fact that that unsolicited reviews were actually impacting perhaps the candidates that we could even attract to apply for our jobs at all. That really caught everybody's attention. And so it really perked everybody's ears up, and all the way up to our CEO. We have really buy-in and support from using this tool, listening to what people are saying, and making sure that we're taking action to improve the experience for our employees.
Thank you, guys. That's awesome. I think that really, you know, kind of leads into our next question that I'll share with you guys here for a second. You know, what surprised you about this endeavor? I know this is something somewhat new for you, Leigh, and, you know, Michael, you've seen obviously this type of thing through EX for years of experience. So you might be able to comment on as well. But Leigh, what surprised you about this endeavor?
Well, all of our reputation partners said, don't be afraid of soliciting feedback, because, you know, we were all thinking, oh my gosh, people are just going to complain. If we ask for them to give us reviews, they're just going to complain more. It's going to make it worse. And everybody said, you know what, that is absolutely untrue. If you ask, the people who are disgruntled are already going to go out and provide those reviews, whether or not you ask them. The people who are satisfied are the ones you're missing out on by not inviting them to share their experience. And what was really interesting is last summer in 2021, before we were engaged with Reputation, we had an employee appreciation week across the country. And during that time, we provided QR codes at all of our events, asking people to go on Glassdoor and Indeed and share their experience with us. And we did that. But again, it was still really hard without the Reputation tool to easily aggregate and see the effect of asking. Once we got up on the tool in December, we quickly pulled up, and it was amazing. During that month alone of that employee appreciation activity, we saw an incredible increase in the number of positive reviews that we have gotten. So, you know what, it works, and our Reputation partners were right. And I've seen it in action.
And for context for our audience that may not be familiar with your organization, when you say across the country, about how many employees do you have in how many different locations?
Yep, so we are in all 50 states, Canada, the US Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico, and we have about 50,000 employees.
Wow. So this is a lot of data that you're compiling and pulling together.
Yes.
Okay. So when you started first integrating it together, and you were surprised, I think, at number one, that when you engage people, and when you think about it, I've had the same experience you have. You know, it's kind of like, do I want to go out? Do I want to open this, you know, get more information? Am I just going to simply expose things? But haven't you discovered that the reality is that people just want to be engaged? They want to be heard. And if you provide a vehicle to enable them to be heard, that what you get is a lot more positive, honestly, than you may have thought.
Absolutely. I mean, it kind of goes hand in hand with employee referral programs, right? You want your employees who enjoy working here to invite their friends to come and join them too. And really, this is just an extension of doing that. If you really like working here, help us tell everybody about why it's a great place to work. And so it empowers employees and gives them a voice and makes them have a lot of buy-in and engagement in the process too, because really everybody is a recruiter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And people talk to each other all the time.
Yep.
Everybody's a recruiter. That's a great line. That should be tattooed on HR's forehead.
Everyone's a brand ambassador as well.
Yeah. And I know, you know, you talked about getting that information together and being afraid that soliciting information was going to raise so many negative reviews, things like that. We've seen that in the consumer space as well. In the consumer space, our research has told us that it's really just enabling the positive majority, right? So sure, there might be a few more negatives in there, but the positives are going to way drown it out when you solicit like that. And we've seen the same thing like you're talking about with employees. Yeah, sure, there might be a few more negative reviews. Those are going to be drowned out by the mass of positive reviews that you have solicited. So love to hear that from from a real world example. Let's go on to our next question, guys. Right here. So what happened when you started integrating this data together? What happened when you started integrating this data together?
Yeah, the biggest impact really has been the visibility, right? So the reporting capabilities that exist through the reputation platform have just made it so easy to get the data through reports, easy in your inbox reports of the feedback that we're getting. So it elevated the visibility and the importance of it, because I think, you might hear about it in a meeting once a quarter or something, but really we've got this going into our leaders' inboxes once a week, so that they can see the latest reviews, see the responses that we're providing, and it hits home. People take it personally. We've got this broken down by brand, so it goes to the specific operational leaders, talent leaders, HR leaders by brand, and it hits home, and you take it personally when someone is complaining about you, and you want to make it better. And so all the way up to the most senior leaders of the company really are seeing it and taking it very, very seriously and personally.
And Leigh, have you discovered that having all of the data aggregated in more real time, because what you just mentioned there is really important. The data gets actually fed to you actively, right? So you're not having to stop and go search for it. Have you discovered that as you're getting that data, it allows you to not just react to it, but actually use that in terms of how you might package changes to the organization, or how you might communicate, how you might, maybe different organizations that are getting different sentiment can use that ahead of time to go in and on team calls or on all hands calls, or in addressing particular changes, can actually address some of the sentiment and kind of weave it in real time?
Yes, absolutely. We've got, not all of our lines of business, but some of our lines of business have monthly recruiting and retention committee meetings at the local operational level. And so they're able to use these reports that they're getting and action on them and talk about them during the meeting. So, what are some potential ways that we can, celebrate our employees more? We're hearing a lot that people aren't getting the training that they feel like they need. So what can we do to improve our training possibilities? Or maybe we've got great training and people just don't know about it. So really, really great actionable items have come out of this great unsolicited feedback that we're getting on a very regular cadence, in a really digestible format, which I think is also really important. You don't have to go into some spreadsheet and look at a bunch of cells. Like, it's just right there in the body of the email. It's easy to scroll through and look at and see the impact that it's having on star ratings, and general sentiment, because we all know that recency is important, right? So we might have a bad review from 5 years ago, and who really cares about that? But these are the reviews we've gotten in the past 7 days. Yeah. So we know that this is the reality right now. And so I think that that's made a tremendous impact on our operators.
Yeah, well, it's great you mentioned that, the reviews of the last 7 days, because if you think about classically what we did is we went out and we surveyed employees, but there was always this issue of timing. Had we rolled out the survey a month earlier or a month later, maybe the results would have been different because of some event that happened or some other thing that was going on. But because you're getting it all the time, have you been able to see, hey, we made this change or we made this announcement, and we can now see that feedback sentiment start coming in real time?
I think what we are seeing is that leadership is more engaged, right? Any employee can leave a review. It's not just the frontline staff. It's everybody all the way up through leadership. So when you've got leaders who might not think, oh, this isn't my job to leave a review, they are able to go in and do that. And when they're seeing the feedback of their staff, they encourage their peers and others in the organization to go in and leave the feedback too. So I think we've seen, whereas before, in an unsolicited way, we were seeing kind of only frontline sort of staff leaving reviews, but now we've got middle managers, regional leaders who are now going in and also leaving reviews, which I think has shown that they've gotten a lot of buy-in and skin in the game.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. I think harkening back to the beginning of the question, what happened when you started integrating this data together? You mentioned there was a human impact, people caring about the data or how they were perceived or their effect on stuff. And that's something I don't think I saw coming, how the data affected the human, the emotion of it, It's really cool. Also, shout out to your great multicolored nails. Love those. Yeah. And I believe you guys just spoke on this, so I hope you have enough left to say. But I would like to show our next question here, which is, what part has agility and getting data in real time played in your EX? And I know you just spoke about this a little bit. Anything else you could add on to that?
Yeah, I think really, if you look at the tools that people have been provided, they're able to use the tools. So we've got a variety of ways that people can ask for reviews, and doing it through the platform is one way, but reaching that frontline level staff, has to happen a lot of times in our business, at least, through printed materials. I know that sounds a little dated, but it absolutely is the case with us. So we've gotten different flyers and cards and things like that with QR codes that people can easily go in and leave those reviews online. And so I think really seeing, they've had these tools in their tool chest for a while now, but seeing this data in real time encourages them and reminds them on a very frequent basis to use it, and all the different ways in which you could ask for it. So you don't just have to ask for it at your annual review, or maybe if during training time or something like that. Every time that you're engaging with your staff, you have the opportunity to say, hey, can you go online and let us know what you think about us, and hopefully help us recruit more great people like you. Because when there are staffing shortages, it impacts the employees who are there, right? They need for us to be fully staffed so that their lives are easier. So again, recruiting is everybody's job, and if we can equip people with ways that they can impact that and make their own lives, their own daily work lives better, I just think that that's where the impact is.
Great. You also mentioned being able to respond to like Glassdoor and Indeed. Have you discovered that you can now respond directly through the tool itself without having to go log in externally to Glassdoor and have a completely different cycle?
Oh, absolutely. Well, we've got the managed review response team, and they do a great job of responding on our behalf using the macros that we've provided to do that. And it also, says to people, we're listening to you, and here's a way you can reach out to us to tell us more. Because providing, ranting on a platform isn't probably the most effective ways to get change or to make change. So we're able to provide them with the appropriate email address and telephone numbers that they can call and talk to a live human being and get their problems resolved quickly, and also provide more information, because maybe what they're willing to disclose in a public forum like that isn't enough information for us in a sea of 50,000 people to know exactly what they're talking about. So it really provides another way for them to seek resolution to what problems they might be experiencing.
It's good.
Yeah.
And I think we had just one last question, right, Colby?
Yeah, absolutely correct. Thank you guys for hanging with us. And this one's a little bit more on the general side, but I still think it's always important to ask a version, of this question. But any other tips on how to start or enhance an EX program? I spoke to earlier, we've got all kinds of different maturity level HR and EX programs on, watching and listening. So any other tips on how to start or enhance your EX program?
I think buy-in from the very top is the most important thing. So when senior leaders are engaged and have line of sight into the data and into the impact that the data has on our business, that is where the rubber meets the road. And as I mentioned earlier, our CEO, and this is no overstatement, he was the one who really championed using the reputation tool, and so his leadership in this gave the weight to all of his direct reports and leaders and the line of business presidents to really pay attention to what was coming out of the platform. So I think that buy-in and engagement from senior leadership at the operational level. So it can't just be, this isn't just an HR thing. This isn't a talent acquisition thing. This isn't a recruiting thing. This is everybody at the operational level being engaged and involved. And then I would say really absolutely use the managed review response team. I can't imagine that there is any team out there that just says, oh, we've got somebody sitting around without anything to do, and we'll let them respond to these online reviews in a quick way. Nobody has that. Everybody says they're all strapped. Nobody's team is big enough. The managed review response team has been great. They are so supportive, flexible, and they, really work with us to hone our responses and, improve them. So it's a constant work in progress, but they are incredibly responsive, not only to the reviews, but also to us as customers to make sure that our needs are being met. So I couldn't speak highly enough about the managed review response team.
That's excellent. I know we spoke earlier about showing ROI and how a lot of leadership really likes data, showing metrics and connecting those metrics back to whether it's revenue or employee retention, probably in this case, something like that can really work wonders on trying to get, leadership on board in the first place. So that's really great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So folks, we have come to the end of our time. I want to say a huge thank you to Michael and Leigh for joining us today and all their expertise. I appreciate that. Thank you for hanging with us through the technical difficulties. I hope you're learning something new and interesting out there. We've got 2 slides left for you, so I'm going to hit those very, very quickly. First are just a few takeaways that we have over here. So, happy employees are vital to happy customers. That's backed up by so many stats from so many sources. And then combining internal and external data, which is what we talked about with getting social comments and Indeed and Glassdoor reviews combined with those surveys, which should be happening more than just annually, that really unlocks those unprecedented insights and gives you a really holistic view of your EX. And lastly, data capture analysis preps you for action, but you have to make sure to initiate that plan. Doesn't matter how competent you are or how great the platform is or how great the strategy is. If you don't actually put it in action, nothing's going to happen. So we just got to make sure that we remember to put things in action. And lastly, folks, thank you so much. And if you'd like to learn more, see a demo, reach out to your CSM. And if you're not yet a customer, then please email sales at Reputation if you are interested. But thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks, Leigh.
Thanks.